On that chilly autumn evening, the crisp air enveloped the Grand Horizon Hotel. The warm golden lights illuminated the large glass windows, reflecting on the polished marble floors. Guests dressed in elegant attire, their shoes gleaming, mingled by the bar, filling the space with an air of luxury and sophistication. Amidst this grand setting, a tall man stepped through the revolving doors. His breath turned into faint wisps of smoke in the cold air. He wore a simple gray hoodie, jeans, and worn sneakers. He didn't strive to make an impression, yet his towering frame and natural presence drew glances from those around him. This man was none other than Shaquille O'Neal, known to many as Shaq, a basketball legend, a successful entrepreneur. But tonight, he was simply a weary traveler looking for a place to rest after a long day. However, his modest appearance was not welcomed here. Shaq approached the front desk, where a young woman named Emily stood. With her neatly tied hair and polished uniform, Emily exuded professionalism. But her eyes betrayed a hint of hesitation as she glanced at Shaq. "Good evening," Shaq said, his deep voice calm and respectful. "I need a room for the night." He placed his credit card on the counter, his gaze sincere and patient. Emily glanced at him briefly, her eyes flicking to his clothing. An unspoken assumption formed in her mind. This man, with his casual attire, didn't match the usual clientele she was accustomed to serving, the type she deemed fit for the hotel. She forced a tight smile and replied, "I'm sorry, sir. We're fully booked." Shaq furrowed his brow slightly, his gaze shifting to the spacious lobby around him. Empty tables, warm lighting, and an undeniable stillness all pointed to the fact that the hotel was far from full. He turned back to Emily, his tone steady and composed. "Is that so? I'm willing to pay a higher rate," he offered. Emily shook her head, her voice firm. "I'm very sorry, sir. We cannot accommodate you." At that moment, a well-dressed couple entered the lobby. Emily's demeanor transformed instantly. She greeted them with a radiant smile and a warmth that Shaq had not received. Within minutes, she handed them a room key without hesitation. Shaq stood there, silently observing. He didn't need further explanation. The truth was glaringly obvious. A wave of disappointment and hurt swelled within him, but he kept his composure. "Thank you," Shaq said curtly, turning to leave. The biting cold stung his cheeks as he stepped outside, the hotel's doors closing behind him. Beneath the dim glow of the streetlights, Shaq took a deep breath. This wasn't the first time he had faced discrimination, but this time, the sting cut deeper, igniting something within him. Walking through the quiet streets, his mind began to race with a plan. Shaq was not someone easily defeated by narrow-minded judgments. He had faced countless challenges before, and tonight, he knew this would be no different. The Grand Horizon Hotel had underestimated him. In truth, Shaq had always believed that injustice should be met with action, not for vengeance, but to create change. Not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been treated like him. He stopped at a park bench under the dim streetlights, his large hands rubbing together to stave off the cold. His mind raced with thoughts, and amidst the stillness, a familiar voice echoed from his memories. His mother's voice. "Shaquille, if you have the strength, use it to help others. Don't let anyone feel they're worth less just because of how they look." That thought ignited a fire within him. Taking out his phone, Shaq dialed Marcus, his closest friend and financial advisor. "Marcus," Shaq began, his deep voice steady yet brimming with determination. "I want to buy Grand Horizon." Sitting on the park bench, surrounded by faint flickering lights, Shaq's body fought the chill of the night, but his mind burned with resolve. Tonight's rejection wasn't just a lie. It was a harsh reminder of old wounds, memories of growing up as a boy in a struggling neighborhood. Back then, his mother had to fight every day to make ends meet. She would always remind Shaq, "Nobody has the right to tell you you're unworthy just because you look different. You don't prove your value by fighting back. You rise above and help others do the same. That lesson had stayed with him, like an ember waiting for the right moment to reignite. Tonight, it flared brightly. Shaq dialed Marcus again, the urgency in his voice unmistakable. On the other end, Marcus answered, his tone a mix of curiosity and concern. "Shaq, you're still working at this hour? What's going on?" Shaq drew a deep breath, his voice calm but commanding. "Marcus, I need your help immediately. I want to buy the Grand Horizon Hotel." There was silence for a moment. Then, Marcus spoke, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Buy it? You mean the hotel that turned you away tonight, and now you want to own it?" Shaq chuckled lightly, not from amusement, but from knowing Marcus needed more than just a bold statement. "Exactly," Shaq replied, "but not to get even. Marcus, I want to change how they operate. I want that hotel to be a place where anyone, no matter how they look or where they come from, is treated with respect." Marcus sighed, the weight of Shaq's words settling in. "All right, Shaq, let me dig into their financials. If it's owned by a larger company, we'll find a way to make it happen. Are you sure about this?" Shaq didn't hesitate. "Absolutely." That same night, Marcus got to work. He quickly discovered that Grand Horizon was owned by a struggling corporation, an opportunity too perfect to pass up. Shaq, meanwhile, stayed awake, tirelessly coordinating with his legal team and financial advisors. He mapped out every step needed to make the acquisition happen. At times, he would pause, gazing out the window at the quiet night sky. But his heart was not consumed by vengeance. It was filled with a deep, unshakable resolve. Tonight wasn't just about responding to a slight. It was about seizing the chance to create a place where respect and dignity were non-negotiable. By morning, Shaq would be ready to make his move. He wasn't doing this just for himself. Shaq was doing this for everyone who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told they didn't belong. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the misty streets, bathing the city in warm golden light, Shaq's phone rang. It was Marcus. "We did it!" Marcus said, his voice brimming with excitement. "The deal is done! As of this moment, the Grand Horizon Hotel is yours!" Shaq stood still for a few moments, his gaze fixed on the sunbeams cutting through the soft morning haze. His heart swelled with a mix of relief and quiet satisfaction. It wasn't the thrill of owning a hotel that filled him, but the knowledge that this marked the beginning of a new journey. A mission to challenge prejudice and create a space where everyone would feel welcome. With a small smile, he stepped toward the door and murmured to himself, "Last night, they turned me away. Today, I'll show them what change really looks like." The soft morning sunlight filtered through the large glass windows of the Grand Horizon Hotel, illuminating the opulent lobby. The polished marble floors gleamed under the warm glow as receptionists bustled about, preparing for a new day. None of them knew that today would be unlike any other. The sound of a sleek black SUV pulling up outside broke the usual rhythm. The car door opened, and a tall man stepped out. Shaquille O'Neal was no longer clad in the humble hoodie and jeans of the previous night. Instead, he wore a perfectly tailored gray suit, accentuating his commanding presence. His polished black dress shoes clicked decisively against the marble floor as he strode into the lobby. Immediately, the atmosphere shifted. Heads turned, and the staff stared, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and surprise. It wasn't just his sharp appearance. It was the aura of confidence and authority he carried with him. Behind the front desk, Emily, the receptionist who had dismissed him the night before, spotted him. Her practiced professional smile faltered, replaced by a look of unease and disbelief. She froze in place, struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. This wasn't the same man she had dismissed as an ordinary traveler. This was someone entirely different. Shaq walked directly to the desk, his gaze calm yet intense. He didn't speak immediately, letting the silence settle like a weight in the room. "Good morning," Shaq said, his deep voice steady but carrying an undeniable authority. "I'm here to introduce myself. My name is Shaquille O'Neal, and as of this morning, I am the new owner of this hotel." The lobby fell silent. The faint clatter of keyboards and the murmur of conversations came to an abrupt halt. Every pair of eyes turned toward Shaq, filled with astonishment and confusion. Emily stood frozen, her wide eyes darting between Shaq and her co-workers. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Finally, in a trembling voice, she managed, You're the owner?" Shaq nodded, his gaze unwavering. "That's right, and I have a few questions." His tone remained calm, yet there was a firmness that made it clear he wasn't there for pleasantries. Every word carried the weight of the moment, leaving Emily and the rest of the room speechless. "Last night when I arrived here, you told me the hotel was fully booked," Shaq began, his words piercing straight into Emily's conscience. "But just a few minutes later, I saw you welcome another couple and hand them a room. Can you explain why?" Emily lowered her head, her hands gripping the edge of the desk as if searching for support. In that moment, she knew there was no hiding from the truth. Her voice trembled as she swallowed hard. I thought that—" Shaq gently raised his hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "I'm not here to hear excuses," he said, his tone firm but devoid of anger. "I want you to think carefully about the real reason you turned me away. This isn't just about me. It's about how you perceive people you don't know." Emily stared down at the counter, unable to meet his gaze. She could feel the weight of every pair of eyes in the lobby bearing down on her. Yet, instead of pressing further, Shaq's voice softened. "I'm not here to punish anyone," he continued. "I'm here to create change. I believe everyone deserves a second chance. If you're willing to learn and grow, I'll give you that chance." Emily lifted her tear-filled eyes, gratitude and remorse shining through. "Thank you. I'm sorry. I'll do better," she said, her voice shaky but resolute. Shaq nodded slightly, his expression filled with understanding. "Thank you, Emily. I hope from now on, everyone who walks through these doors is greeted with respect and sincerity." Turning away, Shaq left Emily standing behind the desk, overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. The silence in the lobby lingered, but now it was accompanied by an air of newfound respect. Shaq had returned not just as an owner, but as a mentor, a figure determined to bring about meaningful change. As the sunlight streamed into the Grand Horizon Hotel the next day, the atmosphere in the lobby felt undeniably different. From the receptionists to the housekeeping staff, everyone seemed to sense that something was shifting. Word had spread quickly about Shaquille O'Neal becoming the hotel's new owner. Whispers and curious glances filled the air as employees speculated about what might come next. Shaq sat in the hotel's largest conference room. The sleek, polished table stretched before him, its surface gleaming under the morning light. Rows of neatly arranged chairs faced him, each one soon to be filled by his team. On the table sat his laptop and a steaming cup of black coffee. One by one, the employees filed in, their expressions revealing a spectrum of emotions. Some appeared nervous, particularly Emily, who entered with cautious steps and hesitant eyes. Others, like Maria, a longtime housekeeper, carried a quiet hope in their hearts, longing for the positive changes this new leadership might bring. Once everyone had taken their seats, Shaq stood. His towering frame and calm demeanor commanded attention, but his gaze was not intimidating. It was steady, grounding, and reassuring. His deep, resonant voice filled the room, instantly quieting the murmurs. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "I'm Shaquille O'Neal, but please call me Shaq. I'm not here to waste your time, so let me get straight to the point. Today, we're not just going to talk about our work. We're going to talk about how we treat each other and the guests who walk through these doors." Shaq's words carried a weight that was impossible to ignore, setting the tone for a new chapter in the history of the Grand Horizon Hotel. Shaq paused, his gaze sweeping across the room, ensuring every word landed with impact. "Last night, I wasn't the only person who has ever felt unwelcome here," he began, his voice resolute. And that needs to change. Grand Horizon isn't just a luxury hotel. It must become a place where anyone, no matter what they wear, where they come from, or how they look, feels respected. Shaq stepped to the center of the room, his presence commanding even greater attention. His voice grew stronger, carrying the weight of his conviction. Starting today, we will make changes. Every one of us, from management to housekeeping, will participate in a program focused on fairness, inclusivity, and delivering service with genuine care. This isn't just about changing policies. It's about changing the way we think. Shaq's eyes landed on David, the hotel's longtime manager, sitting at the corner of the table. David, Shaq continued, his tone firm yet inclusive, I need you to help lead this change with me. But if anyone feels they can't adapt or disagrees with this vision, I'll understand. This might no longer be the right place for them. David nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful but firm. I understand, Mr. O'Neal. We're ready to change. At the far end of the table, Emily hesitantly raised her hand. Her voice trembled, but her eyes reflected determination. Mr. O'Neal, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know I was wrong, and I'm committed to doing better. Shaq's gaze softened as he looked at Emily. Thank you, Emily, but I don't want you to change for me. I want you to change for yourself, and for the guests you'll meet in the future. His words weren't just directed at Emily, they were meant for everyone in the room. After the meeting, Shaq spent the rest of the afternoon engaging with different teams across the hotel. He spoke with Maria, a housekeeper who had worked there for nearly 15 years without ever feeling truly acknowledged. He asked Tom, the doorman, how he felt welcoming guests every day. Shaq didn't just listen, he shared his own experiences. He recounted moments when he, too, had been dismissed or judged, and the resilience it took to rise above those moments. A few days later, the training sessions began. Experts in inclusivity and customer service were brought in to guide the staff through practical exercises and inspiring stories. These sessions weren't easy. Some employees were confronted with their own unconscious biases. But these moments of discomfort created opportunities for learning and growth. Gradually, the atmosphere within the hotel began to shift. The judgmental glances that once lingered were replaced by genuine smiles. Employees no longer evaluated guests based on appearances. They began to see them as individuals with unique stories. One day, as Shaq entered the lobby, he noticed Emily welcoming a small family. The father wore a worn gray jacket, and the mother clutched the hands of two young children, her eyes hesitant but hopeful. Emily crouched slightly, meeting the children's eyes with a warm smile. "Welcome to Grand Horizon," she said brightly. "We're so happy to have your family here." Shaq watched from a distance, a quiet smile spreading across his face. He could see that the transformation he had envisioned was becoming a reality. For Shaq, it wasn't just about fixing a broken system. It was about building a culture where kindness, respect, and inclusion thrived. The Grand Horizon Hotel was no longer just a luxurious building. It was becoming a place where everyone, no matter who they were, could truly feel at home. In the days that followed, Grand Horizon began to take on a new identity, not through its walls, furnishings, or opulent lighting, but through the attitudes and behavior of those who worked there. The atmosphere grew warmer, lighter, and guests started to notice the difference. Emily, who had made the gravest mistake by treating Shaq unfairly, had now become a receptionist defined by her dedication and genuine warmth. One morning, she welcomed a small family into the hotel. The father wore a worn sweater, while the mother clutched the hands of two young children. Their expressions carried a mix of hesitation and awe, as if unsure they belonged in such a place. With a radiant smile and a gentle voice, Emily greeted them. "Welcome to Grand Horizon. I'm so glad to serve your family. We have the perfect room for you." The father's eyes widened in surprise, and the mother's grateful smile lit up her face. As Emily handed them their room key, the father softly said, "Thank you. I never thought we'd be welcomed like this." Emily smiled back, but deep inside, she knew this change wasn't just from the training she'd undergone. It was the opportunity Shaq had given her. Shaq didn't merely observe from afar. He was frequently seen in the lobby, speaking with staff as if they were longtime friends. He asked Maria, the housekeeper, about her young son. He encouraged Tom, the doorman, to greet guests with more confidence and enthusiasm. One evening, as Shaq walked through the hallways, Maria stopped him to express her gratitude. "Mr. O'Neal, thank you for making everything better. I've worked here for nearly 15 years, but this is the first time I've felt truly valued." Shaq offered a gentle smile, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "No one should ever feel unappreciated, Maria. Thank you for everything you've done to make this place better." It wasn't just the staff who noticed the transformation. Guests began to feel it too. One day, Shaq encountered an older couple in the lobby. They had just completed their check-in and were resting after a long journey. Dressed in his signature tailored suit, Shaq approached them and held the door open with a soft smile. The wife looked at him, her eyes lighting up in recognition. "Are you Shaquille O'Neal? We've been fans of yours since the very beginning." Shaq chuckled warmly and nodded. "Yes, but here, I'm just Shaq. Welcome to Grand Horizon." The couple left with a story they'd cherish forever, not just about the basketball legend they admired, but about a hotel that had genuinely made them feel at home. News of Grand Horizon's transformation spread quickly. A local newspaper published a small article detailing how Shaquille O'Neal had turned a once criticized hotel into a place that welcomed everyone, regardless of their background or appearance. One day, Shaq found a postcard left on his desk. The handwritten message was brief but carried profound meaning. "Thank you for turning this place into somewhere we feel respected. It means more than you know." Shaq held the card in his hands, reading it over and over. He didn't need to know who had written it. He understood that the change he had envisioned was now resonating in the hearts of those around him. For Shaq, Grand Horizon wasn't just a hotel anymore. It was a symbol of what respect, kindness, and inclusion could achieve. Shaq read the postcard over and over again. He didn't need to know who had written it, because he understood that change didn't have to be loud or celebrated. It only needed to touch the hearts of those around him to truly matter. On a quiet afternoon, Shaq stood in the grand lobby, watching people come and go. Small families, older couples, and solo travelers, all carrying their own stories, walked through the doors of Grand Horizon. And yet, every one of them felt like they were coming home. The hotel staff no longer worked out of mere obligation. They worked with joy, knowing that every smile, every sincere greeting could change someone's day, or even their life. Shaq smiled softly, his heart full of contentment. Grand Horizon was no longer just a hotel. It had become a symbol of what he believed in deeply: compassion and fairness. Over time, Grand Horizon transformed entirely. No longer was it the hotel overshadowed by prejudice and bias. Now, every corner of the building told a new story, a story of kindness, inclusion, and profound change driven by genuine care. Shaq often appeared in the lobby, not as a distant owner, but as a friend and partner. He loved seeing the staff laugh and connect with one another, greeting every guest with sincerity. The once cold and detached walls of the hotel now radiated warmth, brought to life by the people within. One peaceful afternoon, Shaq was chatting with Emily at the front desk when a small family walked in. The father wore a weathered jacket, while the mother gently held the hand of a curious little boy who looked around the lobby in awe. Emily bent down with a smile and said, "Welcome to Grand Horizon. I'm so happy to serve your family today." The young boy looked up at Shaq with wide eyes and blurted out, "Who are you? You're so tall." Shaq laughed, crouching down to meet the boy's gaze. I'm Shaq, and I'm here to make sure everyone feels at home." The father placed a hand on Shaq's shoulder, his expression full of gratitude. "Thank you. Places like this are rare. My family has never felt so welcome." Shaq returned the smile. His heart warmed, not by the words of thanks, but by knowing that small actions could change the way people viewed the world. Word of the transformation at Grand Horizon spread quickly. It began with a small feature in the local newspaper, but soon larger media outlets picked up the story. They shared how Shaquille O'Neal had turned a hotel once criticized for exclusivity into a beacon of inclusivity. Shaq, however, didn't let the media overshadow his true purpose. He declined lengthy interviews and instead summed up his mission in a single powerful statement. "This isn't about me. It's about how we as people can treat each other better." One quiet evening, Shaq found another small postcard left discreetly on his desk. The handwritten note carried a profound simplicity. "Thank you for turning this place into somewhere we feel respected. It means more than you know." Shaq held the card in his hands, rereading it several times. He didn't need to know who had written it. He understood that his vision for change had taken root. Grand Horizon was no longer just a building. It had become a testament to the power of kindness and respect. "Thank you for creating a place where I feel like I truly belong. It means more than you could ever know." Shaq held the postcard in his hands, reading the words over and over. He didn't need to know who had written it. He knew the changes he had worked so hard to implement had truly touched the hearts of those around him. Months later, Shaq organized a meeting with all the staff in the hotel's largest conference room. Standing in the center, his gaze swept across the faces of the people who had stood with him on this journey of transformation. "We've accomplished so much together," he began, his deep voice filled with warmth and emotion. "But this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Grand Horizon is no longer just a hotel. It is a symbol of fairness, compassion, and how we can create change when we genuinely care about one another." Applause filled the room, not just for Shaq's words, but because everyone felt they were part of something bigger than themselves. Later that evening, as Shaq prepared to leave the hotel, he paused at the front entrance. Turning back, he looked at Grand Horizon, now glowing with more than just its lights. It radiated the warmth and inclusivity that had come to define it. "Success isn't just about building a career," he thought. "It's about building trust and respect between people." As he stepped onto the street, Shaq knew he hadn't just transformed a hotel. He had changed the way people viewed compassion and inclusion. Grand Horizon was no longer just a building. It had become a symbol, a beacon for the values he believed in so deeply. Thank you for taking the time to follow today's story. Shaq's journey wasn't just about transforming a hotel. It's a powerful reminder that fairness and compassion can reshape entire communities. If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss more inspiring stories like this one. Let's spread the message of inclusion and love. Together, we can create meaningful change. See you in the next video.